dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to the Warframe video. So, I've been making videos about Topaz Archon Shards, and basically how underwhelming they are for a while. You might remember my video from about 8 months ago, when DE initially fixed these Archon Shards to make them not as OP. I was already saying there's issues with them. And looking at all the Archon Shards in the game, I think this problem is more prevalent than ever with the combined orange Archon Shards. I have actually a rework idea for them today, and I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on reworking them as well, because these are definitely the least popular shards in the game, as they require a combined shard, and the effects are very niche at best, and just weak in general for some of them. So let's get right into it. Before we do, though, make sure you sub this channel. We do daily Warframe video uploads, build videos, discussion videos, farming guides, all that kind of stuff. You're in the right place for Warframe content. We'll be covering the new updates and the new dev stream in depth right when it goes up. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that stuff a lot. Alright, but before we get into all this stuff, let's go ahead and show these orange shards and like what they actually do and what they are being compared to in Warframe. So here we are in our ship right now. We're in the Helminth chair, and for the Archon shards, the shards we're talking about today are going to be these ones, the orange Topaz shards. Now, as far as these effects on here, they're going to be taking the effects of the yellow and red shards combined and doing some weird stuff with them. But if we look at what these shards can do, the ones you combine to make the orange shard might even be better than the orange shard itself. They probably are, actually. For red shards, you got things like melee critical damage, primary status chance, secondary critical chance, ability strength, and ability duration. So pretty much every stat on there is usable. On yellow shards, or amber shards, you got maximum energy filled on spawn, effectiveness of health orbs, effectiveness of energy orbs, casting speed, and parkour velocity. So, not my favorite effects on all of them, but some of these are my favorite effects in the whole game, like casting speed and parkour velocity. So, really good stuff here. What do we get for combining these two together? We get extremely niche effects, like gain 2 health per enemy kill with blast damage, maximum of 450. Now, that is per shard, technically. But, yeah, you're going to be technically getting 450 health for one of your shard slots, where you could be getting things like power strength or something else instead of that. And honestly, building for just pure HP in Warframe is not the best most of the time. Next one, regenerate 7.5 shields when you kill enemy with blast damage. Now, I've got a little bit of a bonus to tell you about this one. It might sound pretty good. Oh, I regenerate shields on blast proc kill. Those are pretty easy to get nowadays. That sounds pretty powerful. Unfortunately, this will not proc while your shield gate is active. So that means you must be basically able to be killed by the time this actually works. During your shield gate, you are invincible. If you know what shield gating is. During your shield gate, when your shield breaks, you are invincible. Same with Overguard as well. But during that time, this shard cannot provide you shields. It's not even shield generation. It just gives you like 7.5 flat shields. So this is going to be one of the major features of these shards that needs to be reworked, if you ask me. And that's going to be the shield regen shards on here. Going over the last couple effects on this terrible shard, at least I view it as terrible, a lot of people view it as terrible. Increased secondary critical chance by 1.5% for every time you kill enemy with fire heat stats, like max 75. This is the only effect anyone ever uses on these shards. And do you know why that is? Because it gives you more maximum critical chance than a red shard. That's the only reason why. If red shards had higher stats, we just use those. But instead, they make you jump through some hoops. You have to kill enemies with fire procs to get more critical chance. Now, it is a lot higher, 75%, versus the 37.5 on the normal one. But yeah, you gotta get some heat procs to get those kills. So you're not getting them totally for free. And also, it only works on secondaries as well. And a reminder too, the red shards work on primaries and melees too. They have status chance for primaries and critical damage for melees. So you're losing all that functionality. Also, the last effect here is gain 15% ability damage enemies affected by radiation statuses. And now, if we compare to the other shards, that effect, radiation extra ability damage, is very similar to the ones on the purple shards. Gain increased ability damage on enemies affected by electric. And the green shard, enemies affected by corrosive take increased ability damage. And I would say this is probably arguably the weakest, because radiation status effects don't really do anything besides make enemies confused. The corrosive one is probably the best, because enemies affected by corrosive have less armor, so that means your abilities will be doing more damage to them as well, because armor is usually going to be a factor in these damage calculations. So, as far as the Topaz shard is concerned, it is the most niche, it is the weakest, and yeah, some of these effects on here, like gain 2 health per enemy killed, is not really used by anyone. Maybe Anaros, So I have a rework idea right here. So I know that they probably wouldn't want to totally replace all the effects, although I'd say some of these could be fully replaced and no one will really mind. I've got some buffs on here I've decided to go through for things I think that will make it a little bit more impactful with these shards. Alright, so reminder, this is not official stuff at all. This is just me trying to spitball ideas of what they could do to fix these to make these actually desirable, because as far as I'm concerned, I have not made... Oh, actually, I have made 3 or 4 Topaz... or not Topaz, Azure... What is these called? Topaz, sorry. Topaz Archon Shards, the orange ones. I have made 4 of them ever, and it's only on Mesa. I think the only frame in the game that actually uses these is Mesa and maybe like Corvex or Oberon, I guess? So let's go ahead and talk about what I would buff on these to make them a little more enticing, because they're not enticing at all for most players. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the rework idea I've got here. So all the orange stuff is going to be stuff that is not currently active that I would like to change to make it a little bit more desirable, okay? So, as looking at purple shards, they have a special bonus where you get massive critical damage for melees if you have over 500 energy. I thought that was an interesting idea, and they could maybe add that to something involving the orange shard. So, for the gain 2 health per enemy killed by blast, I say double that bonus when you're above 800 armor. Now, I know the number 800 just seems random, because it is random. I just picked a random number. Maybe DE would have to calculate what frames they actually get to properly... What number would be the right one for getting the double bonus? 500 energy seemed like a pretty good number to pick for the purple shards. I don't know how much armor they have to pick for the orange shards, or maybe some other stat. Like when you have movement speed over blah, 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 you get this bonus. But either way, no one is using these, and I know they can give you a lot of health, but yeah, if you were to double that bonus when above 800 armor, you'd be getting almost 1,000 health per shard, and that would be crazy. That could be pretty, that could be potentially like OP at low levels, because no one will be able to kill you. But again, if you have 5 orange Archon shards, I don't think low levels are really going to be a factor in the first place. So I think that could get buffed. I'd say a way to do it is to tie it into like the purple thing. If you have this amount of this stat, it doubles the bonus on here. Moving on to the next one. Regenerate 7.5 shields when you kill an enemy with blast damage. That's the one that's just like Caliban. It will not give you shield regen while you're in shield gate, basically. And now this one could vary. I kind of understand why they made this one so underpowered. It is very easy to make this OP. So I would say is maybe make it where the regenerated shields are a percentage of your maximum shields. Because the way it is, 7.5 shields is not even enough to shield gate, really. So if you had 5 of these shards with the current version right now, you'd be getting like, what, 37.5 shields from 1 kill? As long as shield gate's not active? That is horrible. Now there are some niche cases where you could make it a permanent shield gate, but remember, since it's not proccing while you're in shield gate, you have to be killing that enemy the millisecond that you are damageable, or you will instantly die. So if they change to a percentage, you could have like 1 or 2 of these to get like 15% of your shields on kill. That sounds kind of okay. I don't know if I'd still run it, but it would definitely be a more impactful number, because my Saren have like 370 shields right now. So about 10% of that, or whatever, 7% of that would be, about triple or quadruple the bonus they have right now from 1 shard. So that'd be about like 30-ish shield, and you get 37.5 from 5 shard slots. So this one could get a massive buff. But I think that the DE nerf and buff masters should probably put some serious math into this one to make sure it's not OP, because it could easily be OP if they buff this effect, because shield gating does make you literally invincible to pretty much every damage type. So yeah, that one could definitely use a major buff, and I don't think that I even put enough thought into it. But yeah, I think regen change to a percentage would be a good place to start. Moving on to the only effect people actually use on these shards, the secondary critical chance. Now, to me, the reason I don't use these is because, first off, I'm not wasting shard. I'm not wasting a Tau orange shard, or a Tau yellow shard, a Tau red shard to make this in the first place. But second, it only applies to pistols. That's one of my major issues with it. Some people think that, like, once you get to maximum stacks on this, you should get a second effect, which I think is actually not a bad idea. But to me, I think they should make this bonus apply to all weapons, because if you think about it, the red shards work on melees, pistols, primaries. This only works on pistols. So I think that could definitely get changed. Now, if they did end up doing that, it would maybe need to get reworked a little bit, the exact number, but I would love to have a big crit chance increase on any weapon I want. I'm also jumping through, I have to run heat procs to get this. I can't run like, blast procs or toxin procs. It has to be fire procs to get this. I think that restriction is enough that I should be able to use other things besides just pistols, okay? And of course, it would not be nerfed at all. It would still work on pistols, but it would work on other things too, which I think could be really, really nice. And again, another way they could solve this, and I don't know if there would be a solution, because this is the one this is the most highly used of this orange shard effect. Make it when you get to full stacks, you get increased critical damage too, or something like that. So it'd be like a mini outburst. Once you get full stacks, you have corrosive, or not corrosive, you have maximum crit chance and maximum crit damage from that effect, and that can stack on top of itself. Speaking of corrosive, this is going to be the last one right here, the gain ability damage on enemies affected by radiation status. Now, as I said earlier, this is pretty much just always weaker than the corrosive one, because corrosive procs remove enemy armor. So, if they want to make this one ever used, besides maybe Corvex, because Corvex does all radiation damage, I think they need to make the value higher than the green shard corrosive value. And I know that there is technically an opening where it'd be like, well, no one would ever use green shards to effect again after that. I don't think green shards are really having a popularity problem right now, guys. Green shards are great for corrosive procs of Saren. Green shards give you increased corrosive stacks, which is great for like everyone basically. And the other effects of them aren't as really impactful. But, yeah, two out of the 4 effects are heavily used, or maybe not heavily used. One of the effects is extremely heavily used, and the Toxin proc increased one is a best in slot for Saren Prime. So, and she's one of the most popular frames in the game, so I don't think green shards really need any changes right now. Now, I wouldn't mind some green shard changes. Some of these effects are pretty useless, like recovering 3 health every time an enemy is affected by Toxin stats. Yeah, I don't really care about that. 3 health is like nothing. But yeah, I think that they should make this like 20% ability damage on enemies affected by radiation. They make it where if you synergize your build enough, you are getting more damage out of these orange shards than out of a corrosive shard. So if you had corrosive procs on them and radiation procs on them, it would be technically more damage to run a orange shard versus a green shard, because again, it's more work, it's more effort to get all these procs on them. You should be rewarded with a little bit more damage, in my opinion, because these multipliers for ability damage can be pretty nice. But yeah, they're just, you have to be basically running the shard in the first place. And I never run these types of shards, so. That's going to be my mini rework for orange shards, guys. Let me know how you feel about these down below. Do you think this is too OP? Do you think it's not enough? What would you change with Archon shards? Because again, I've had a problem with these for about 8 months. Like I made a video 8 months ago when they first got changed, because they used to actually work during Shieldgate for permanent Shieldgate, and that's when they changed to the current state they're in right now. I would love to hear your guys' opinions. Maybe make it where hey, throw in some range, maybe throw in some casting speed, throw in some stats that we actually want. They're from the combined shards, the red and the yellow, that we lose when we combine them into this technically worse shard to some people. So, see you guys next time for your support, and take it easy. Peace.